City of Salem, the City Council Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, met in the Council Chamber on June 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the fiscal year 26 operating budget and capital improvement plans for the following departments. We have the Council on Aging, the Park, Rec, and Community Services Administration, Golf Course, Witch House, Pioneer Village, Winter Island, and Charter Street, and also the capital improvement plans. Notice of this meeting was posted on May 8th, 2025 at 2:39 p.m. And from the Administration and Finance Committee, we have Councilor Davis, Councilor Harvey, Councilor Stott, and Councilor Watson-Felt. From the Committee of the Whole, we have Councilor Masillo, Councilor Prozanowski, Councilor Cohen, and Councilor Hapworth. Also in attendance tonight, we have Terry Arnold, Director of the Council on Aging, Trish O'Brien, Director of Parks, Rec, and Community Services, Mayor Pingallo, Chief of Staff Lisa Peterson, Anna Friedman, our Finance Director, and we also have Paul Lever, the Superintendent of the Golf Course, Elizabeth Peterson, Manager of the Witch House, Charter Street, and Pioneer Village. Okay. And welcome everyone to our Administration and Finance Committee budget hearing for our fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. The agendas are posted on the city calendar, which include a link to the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget and other financial information, including the budget in brief, an overall of budget priorities, timelines, breakdown of revenue sources, and where your money goes. And we are going to start today with the Witch House, which is section 22, and it's page 536, but the budget summary is on 539. And welcome, Elizabeth Peterson. Thanks for being here tonight. Do you want to start by giving us an overview, or?
I certainly.
Yeah, you just have to speak right into the mic.
In terms of budgetary changes, and this is my second time ever doing this, so apologies if I don't have
No, thank you. We appreciate
a process down, but not too many changes that we are requesting. Essentially, just an increase in our part-time seasonal staff salary or salaries, hourly wages is really all that we're asking for, essentially.
Great, thank you. Mm-hmm. Do we have any questions from the council on the Witch House? No? Or any other comments from anyone?
The one major change was basically Elizabeth's admin, who was far below the salary from the salary survey. So his salary was adjusted.
And thank you, very much for that.
Okay, yes, that's good to hear. We've heard a lot of that through the budget hearings, and we're happy people are being compensated as they have been. I appreciate the deep dive the city took into that. Yeah,
I do, absolutely. It was very unexpected, and I'm very happy with the result.
Yeah, me too. Great. Anyone else? Okay, the budget summary for the Witch House is on page 539. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Witch House budget personnel line item $247,247, expenditure line item of $113,853 for department total of $361,100.
Second it.
Counselor Stott moves to approve the Witch House personnel budget in the amount of $247,247. Expenditures in the amount of $113,853 for a Witch House department total of $361,100. Seconded by Counselor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show. I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Okay, next, we are moving on to the same section, page 542, the Pioneer Village. And Ms. Peterson, if you have anything you'd like to offer about it to kick us off?
So similarly, not asking for really any budget changes for this fiscal year for the village.
Great, thank you. Yes, Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth, for everything you're doing here. Can you just talk very briefly about the AR experience that's mentioned throughout here?
So it's something that we have been working on for a little while. I have interviewed a few individuals that work with augmented reality, and it's meant to just sort of enhance the visitor's experience, largely, particularly with the Witch House and Charter Street Cemetery, where we're having to go to time ticketing so early on in the season that it really limits how many people are actually getting in to see our sites. So we wanted to offer a way for them to engage with us and get something out of the visit, at least a really interesting overview of the site history, even if they didn't pay, so that, you know, even standing out front while they're doing their selfies and their photos and whatnot, they could learn a little bit about the house. We're taking it just in small steps, just to test out ideas, and it will just be like one particular component of the house, of the site, at a time. We will extend that to Pioneer Village as well. That will be the last one that we do work on because of the so many changes that are upcoming. But it will help people to, I think, will certainly increase our accessibility. We can open that up to classrooms and open it up remotely to educators who can't visit or bring a school group to us. But a way to just enrich the experience and to really activate the resource, to really show that we understand, you know, how lucky we are to have these sites, and that we can share them and all of their interesting bits of information with the public.
Yeah, I think it's just worth highlighting how incredible the work that you and your team have done over these last few years. I think it deserves a lot of recognition. The thoughtful way that you've treated these historic sites, I think, is something that is truly commendable. The Witch House, Charter Street Cemetery, which has been almost a 180 at Charter Street. I'm sure Pioneer Village, I'm excited to see what that looks like. Is there any potential for expanding to Broad Street Cemetery, which is another 17th century site, as you mentioned, the city's 17th century properties?
So we had certainly talked about that at the very onset of the Charter Street conversations. The idea would be ideally to embrace all of our cemeteries. It should be that. We haven't taken steps, honestly, just as of yet. We're just now to the point where we're utilizing Charter Street funds for repairs, and that was just a lovely hurdle to get over. I think that next year we could certainly look at being able to expand that a bit.
Okay.
And take that in. Yeah.
Thanks.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, Chair Merkel. Not being a member of the committee, I echo Councilor Hapworth's thoughts about the AR. I do want to talk about Pioneer Village. So I'm part of the working group that Margaret leads about the planning and, you know, what it's going to look like. I think for the public to know, the intent is really to mirror Pioneer Village in the new location so that people who are coming to visit will get a very similar experience, right?
Absolutely.
But so we've allocated quite a bit of money for the relocation, and just with my sustainability and resiliency hat on, I know that every day makes the buildings less structurally sound. So I'm just encouraging to make sure we keep to the schedule and the move happens next year. Yeah?
Yes.
Is that not in your head?
Yes.
Okay, good. And that's all I have, because I think that's really important, and I think that will guarantee that there will be less work done on the other side.
I do agree with you, yeah.
Councilor Masillo?
Thank you, Chair. I would second the request to provide more protections and support for the Broad Street Cemetery. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of damage being done.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't remember if I mentioned this last year or not, but maybe doing something in conjunction with the Pickering House might work out, since they're right across the street. There is a new person who's the caretaker there who's very interested in
Right.
being a little bit more involved. But, you know, I'd be happy to also be involved in pushing that along as a project, but I understand you have your hands full. I get that, but I think we need to do something to speed up the preservation of that cemetery, because it's really in rough shape.
I do agree with you. I'll just say very quickly, without taking up too much time, before we actually initiated the Charter Street conversation, and that was actually initiated by Mayor Driscoll, but before that began, the PEM and I had actually gone through, and we had just done a very informal sort of inventory of the loss and the damage that we were noticing. I had one of my staff was a grad student who had done a report, and just in a few months, there had been a significant loss. So from the inception, you know, it has been meant to embrace all of them together. And I think that, as I said before, we're at the point now where we're able to utilize profits to actually make repairs and improvements. Coupled with that is Carl Schultz, who is just my wonderful assistant. He single-handedly did the entire database of all of the sites, or all of the burials there. So we feel like, just with that being done this year, and you know, repairs being made, we feel like we're sort of kind of ticking that box of why we're there in the first place, and can sort of like lift our heads up and take a look at what else needs to be done. But I'd be happy to reach out and connect and make something happen, at least small steps, even maybe events and things like that, to just get the ball rolling.
Yeah, no, that would be good. And there's a Friends of organization also.
Right, yeah, you have very active
involved.
members.
It is seeing a lot more use. There's a lot more tours going there for some reason, and it's you know, it is a little bit alarming for people to see them, you know, wandering through the cemetery that is, yeah, nobody knows what kind of shape.
I'll definitely connect. I'll connect, and
All right.
maybe we can even just help with getting the word out for
Sure.
safety and preservation, yeah.
Okay. And I hate to go back, but can you just explain one data thing for me on the Witch House? I missed the data there. I love data. The attendance at the Witch House is kind of steady, 52, 51, and then in 2024 it shot up to 69,000, and then back down to 53. What is that blip? Are we trying to keep a lid on?
We're having to go to time ticketing earlier on. We had a few local residents who were complaining that the lines were already, the congestion was already so much that they couldn't cross the street, they couldn't wait at the bus stop. And so we wanted to address that. As soon as we saw congestion, we switched over. And that time ticketing is then folks registering on Eventbrite. We take people in 15 at a time, and that slows the numbers way down. But it makes for far less stress and far less opportunities for damage. So it's a win-win, but it definitely controls those numbers.
So we're purposely managing the number of folks. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Can I just say, I also think that's still an estimated number. The 53,000 estimated for 2025. Yes, that might not be the actual.
Right, by the end of the year, that could still change. I might have a list of where we are currently. But yeah, just in general, if you do see a lower number, it is because of that time.
It's fine. I don't.
No, I'm saying, I was going to look at our totals that we keep in-house and just see if we, so we're at 44,462 as of the end of May, currently, visitors. Exactly. That does not count June. 44,462 and at $1,016,901. Okay.
As Elizabeth said, the money from Charter Street, now that it's built up, we're able to use it. So spearheading projects to trim trees, clean up the tree work, make the path, do some path work to make that more accessible, control the runoff a little bit, and lastly, to restore headstones.
Headstones, yeah.
So really excited about being able to do that.
Yeah.
With it building up, with that account building up with the visitors and not having to impact the direct municipal budget.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Pioneer Village? No? Okay. I also want to say thank you for the care that you take with these properties. Yes, it's much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so the budget summary for Pioneer Village is page 544. We're voting on expenditures only. Councilor Stott?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Pioneer Village budget expenditure line item and department total of $26,980.
Second it.
Councilor Stott motions to approve the Pioneer Village expenditures amount in $26,980 for the same department total of $26,980, seconded by Councilor Harvey. All those in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. We are now moving over to the Charter Street Cemetery, which is page 553 of the same section. Anything you'd like to offer about it before we take questions on it?
Same situation applies to Charter Street in terms of the budget, not asking for really any increases other than just part-time seasonal, just increasing. That's ever present. I'm always asking each year for just a little bit more. It's a wonderful team that we have. Without exception, no one there is considering this just a job that they're doing. They've stood by me for many years in most cases and are deeply committed to the work that they do. So I'm really appreciative of them, especially because they're in ground zero in terms of, the tourist shenanigans, and it gets, quite ugly sometimes. It's unfortunate. It's a very, very stressful work that they do because we are sort of at that influx of all the tour groups and that free space, the memorial, and we're free as well, but we do limit, how many people can go in at a time, and often people don't receive that information as diplomatically as we'd like them to. So sometimes it can be quite stressful. But we have accomplished a great deal, largely, as I mentioned, Carl Schultz, just an amazing resource for the city. He's come up single-handedly with a complete database of every burial in the cemetery. We've also cleaned all of the stones, which was just huge, but we did it. So we're very proud, very proud of the work that we've done there, and it's all due to the staff. We're very lucky.
Yes, thank you to you and your team. When you are on the front lines of tourism here in Salem, it's a lot, especially in the places people are very excited about. So fall under you. So thank you to your team as well. Yes, Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Chair. Is that inventory of all the headstones, is that available on the website?
It is. The database is on the website because we do get so many visitors who have are descendants of folks there. We keep that active, and we do encourage, if anyone is there, to research, a family connection. We give them a special lanyard. And we let them go off path. We work with them to sort of get the information that they're looking for. And again, that's because of people like Carl and Amber and the folks that work with us. They're local historians, Salem State. It's a wonderful team that we have.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'm going to do another one of these and go back to Pioneer Village. A quick question. I don't know if it's for Tricia, you, Elizabeth. Do you guys have anything to do with the night fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I'd like to say. I know it's very successful. A lot of people come in. There's been some adverse impacts in the neighborhood, and I took it upon myself to reach out to the organizers, even went into their stores, left cards, have sent emails to their website, like I'm a customer, please call me, have had zero response.
Okay.
There's a couple of suggestions I have that when they go in front of the licensing board or in front of you, that would make a lot of sense. And I'm just bringing it up to you.
Yeah.
But they're also always welcome to call me. But I think if there was an ability for them to get a couple of porta potties, it would be terrific, because people actually walk into the neighborhood and ask them if they can use bathrooms.
We have, I can address all of those. Yeah.
So that, and the other one is potentially for them to pay for a police detail.
We do. They do.
It was not obvious last year. I went down there and...
Yeah. Happy to circle back with them and with you, but I'm there every night as well. And there are police detail every single night. They are there. They do rotate. They take a walk around. Maybe that was missed. But I certainly wouldn't want, and I don't think the organizers would want to give the impression that they weren't communicative. So I'll reach out and connect you both.
It would have been good if they just had responded to me, because
Yeah.
I don't want the fair to go away, because I know it's really
Yeah.
popular, and I do think that most of the people in the neighborhood are not affected by that. But those are some of the things that have come up. Okay.
Yeah, I'll circle back.
I was going to say, Jeff, also because they come in front of the parking lot.
Yeah.
I wrote them down. But
Yeah.
I did know that they got porta potties.
Yep.
The police detail was inside the gate, so the neighborhood might not see them all the time.
Right, they're inside.
They go from inside the gate around the market and then out to the lot.
Yeah. And then my staff is also there, as well as the organizer staff.
But if there are any other concerns that come up, I can most certainly bring it up
Yeah.
at the commission when we get approved.
Well, I think you answered the question on the detail, because I don't really care what the detail is. I don't actually want the police to be stationed in the park necessarily, because I don't think that gives the best impression. So if they are within the fairgrounds, I think that's fine, but I'm just conveying
Yeah.
concerns.
Thank you so much.
I'll circle back with that.
Thank you.
I will have.
Any other questions? Okay, so we are voting on the budget summary for Charter Street on page 555. Councillor Stott?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Charter Street budget with a personnel line item of $154,028 and an expenditure line item of $64,690 for a department total of $218,718.
Second it.
Councillor Stott moves to approve the Charter Street personnel budget in the amount of $154,028, expenditures in the amount of $64,690 for a department total of $218,718. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And thank you, Ms. Peterson. We appreciate you being here tonight, and we appreciate you and your team. And next, we are moving on to the golf course. This is also section 22, and we are going to page 528. And welcome, Paul Lever. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Would you like to start off offering any information?
Two changes and increases in the budget. One is under contracted services. That's for a new POS system for the register to include online tee times and gift cards. And the other one was for liming the golf course, which actually is a yearly thing to do on the course, which I haven't done since I've been there, just because it hasn't been in the budget. That's it.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the council or comments? Councilor Posnusky.
I think I'm the only golfer on the council, so, I have to step up and say that every year, that course gets better and better under your supervision, Paul. Every year, there's major changes, very noticeable, not only by myself, but people from out of town. And it's nice to see the quality of the work that's being done there by you and your staff, and how nice it's become. What used to be dubbed the gravel pit is no more. It's a fine golf course now. So again, thank you for what you're doing, and I hope you continue doing it some more.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll add to that my husband very much enjoys your golf course and has good things to say. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, the budget summary for the golf course is on page 531. Councilor Stott?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the golf cart budget, personnel line item of $421,094. Expenditure line item of $305,942 for a department total of $727,036.
Second it.
Councilor Stott moves to approve the golf course personnel budget in the amount of $421,094, expenditures in the amount of $305,942 for a golf course department total of $727,036. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show. I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks.
If I can, I know Elizabeth already left, but just a quick, I want to give a shout out to my staff too. I could do it in my own, but I had thought of it when Elizabeth was here. We're just incredibly fortunate, and I think you guys all know that because of the compliments that you've given these guys for what they do for the city and for those particular sites. And I feel really fortunate as well because they work for me, so they make me look good, right? But I inherited both of them. They were here long before me, and they are just fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thanks. Next, we are moving on to the Council on Aging. And this is Terry Arnold, the director, and it is section 23 with the budget summary on 563. Section 23. And welcome, Ms. Arnold.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you all. Happy to present the Council on Aging to you. As you know, the gist of our goal our mission is to provide programming that affirms life and independence, and a big one is to help prevent social isolation. And I think we do a good job of that. We're a great center, and we've been in the Community Life Center since September of 2018, and we've seen significant growth in our programming. I think the great thing the city did was provide better access with that parking lot and enhance our transportation. So we're seeing new faces all the time. Of course, given the population we serve, we also experience attrition. And I think most of you know what we do. Transportation services, again, provides access mainly to medical appointments, so important, grocery shopping, and all kinds of other things. We do about 1,150 one-way rides a month, about a half a dozen vans a really neat thing this past year was that we applied to Mass DOT and were awarded 2 electric vehicles that are on the road now. So that's a coup, and pleased about that. And in terms of personnel, we actually hired a new transportation coordinator back in September who's a crackerjack. She used to work for Mass DOT in the ride, and she's excellent, and excellent with the seniors, as all the staff is. And the social service team is now complete. Sharon Felton heads up that department, 30 years with the city. Back in November, we hired Ingrid Patterson, and if you recall, people who I've talked to through the years, a big challenge has been getting more Spanish-speaking older adults into the center. So this position was created to actually be more external and forming relationships in the community, and Ingrid is doing a really good job of that. And I will say, with assistance and some guidance from Julio Mota from the mayor's office, just making great ties. She's bilingual, and going into housing and talking to folks, community groups that she's been introduced to. And then as a result of our Metro Bridge study last year, when we worked with BU to help us say, where are the gaps? What are we missing in terms of outreach and trying to get more Spanish-speaking folks in? We hired Ingrid, and I think we're on the way to that, and people are warming up to her. Mayor Pangalo said something this past year. I know a few years ago it was like, get more people into the center, and the current mayor is saying, the Council on Aging is not the building. So you can go into community and help meet the needs of certain cultures. And sure, we would like to woo them in because it's a great spot, but we're starting to make better ties with Spanish-speaking folks. So we're pleased about that. And our brand new social worker started a week ago today. She is a clinical social worker, which is pretty handy given the population we serve and some of what we see, and bilingual as well. So that was an extra in hiring Fabiola Alvarez, but she's has excellent experience. So I'm very happy that the team is rounded out now, because it took a while. So that's just in terms of staffing. And, the social service team sees all kinds of things, eviction, homelessness, working with police, fire, behavioral health specialists to serve our population, and things like housing and food stamps. And you all know this. They're really seeing the more serious issues in the lives of aging folks. And programming is bolstering. We have a wait list. We have all kinds of wellness programs that I think you all are aware of. And again, to engage people, to know they've got a place to come, make friends, stay active, age well. And then we have dining services. And we provide a little continental breakfast every morning for everybody, because we do have some folks who are food insecure. And then we have those congregate meals that come in. And we're doing up to 650 congregate meals a month now. That has just grown exponentially since we've been in the center. So more people are coming and using the services. That's a lot. It's in a nutshell. But Council on Aging is doing well. And again, I'm just really happy to have the social service team full.
Yes, thank you. As one of your volunteers, I can attest to the increase in attendance, excitement at all the activities, as you say, that help with isolation. People are just having a wonderful time there. And just the supportive services, the Memory Cafe, and food insecurity, the pantry truck being there weekly. It's just grown and grown. I've seen your efforts, the outreach that's gone on. And I had a friend who had worked on the Metro Bridge BU study. I remember when that idea started, and that was going to be a lot of helpful data and guidance, and you ran with it, and it's really...
It was a great experience.
Yeah.
And actually the mayor is the person who told us about Metro Bridge.
Yeah, that was really, really interesting. And also, I was curious I remember we all went to the electric vehicle...
the unveiling.
I guess I'll call it. So I was curious about how those were working. working out?
They're working. We're having a little bit of mixed reviews, in all honesty, so you might hear that in the community. I think folks are used to just, if you have a mobility issue, sometimes that may not be the best vehicle for you, so we're working out if somebody's on a cane or a walker, although we do have a lift, but it depends on the physical issue. And again, you know, our folks have to be independent, but they're going to need a hand, or you're carrying groceries or something. I think it's a matter of getting used to the new vehicles. It's great that they're electric vehicles, but they are much smaller. The 5-seaters with space for a wheelchair. So we actually took out one of the wheelchair spaces, put more seats from the other vehicle, and just have one electric vehicle that can accommodate the wheelchair. And that's really all we need, because we have the other regular vans that do that anyway. So right now, Melissa Taylor, our coordinator, is sort of playing with, okay, who's a candidate to go on these vehicles? No problem, you know, no balance issue, just doing fine. I called 4 or 5 other directors or transit authorities that are using electric vehicles and have had them for about a year, and the reviews are the same. It takes some getting used to, but over time you'll find there's certain drivers that really love them and certain ones that don't, and same with the seniors. But I think it's just getting acclimated, and other people are quite pleased with them. So I think it's like anything, mixed reviews, something new.
Yeah, something new is always to getting used to, and it sounds like you're just making it work.
Yeah.
Right, Councilor Harvey?
Thank you, Chair. Terry, can you touch base a little bit on the wellness check program that goes on down at the center, so that the public, if they're watching, that don't know about it, can actually...
Love to. So for years, we've been working with a program that's called Are You Okay? Working with the gentleman who created this, who lives in another state. What it is essentially, and now it's called Confirm OK. It's an enhancement of the program, and another person bought the small company and works with fire, police, councils on aging across the states. And in essence, what this is a wellness check in the morning. So within the 8 o'clock hour, you would register and sign up for this with the social service team. You get 3 wellness checks, or automated calls. If you don't pick up by the 3rd call, then the police department, the officer in charge, is alerted, and then they will send a police officer out to do a wellness check. Now, I think this is a fabulous program, and we all scratch our heads as to like why more people aren't signing up. And, you know, it's, I guess, like we're in the Lifeline, and we know that some people have those. And then there are people who say, I don't need any help, thank you very much. But I think, you know, what we're trying to do is, you know, how do we reach the adult children to help them buy in and say, hey, Mom, hi, Dad, you know, this would be good for you. This would make me feel better. But we only have about a half a dozen people on this program. And I know the mayor's office has promoted it for us. We promote it. I would really like to get some more local press on this, because I think to me, it's a no-brainer. It just is, it's just a wonderful program, and it's free. It's free to the consumer. And we have, you know, the program has saved lives, and unfortunately, we have found people deceased. So it has a purpose.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Harvey, for mentioning that. And I know we've pushed it out for those that do it in our newsletters previously, but I think that's something to keep pushing out.
Yes.
Anyway, newsletters, social media, and neighborhood associations. So that's something we can work on, and thank you for putting it on the radar. Councilor Harvey?
Sorry, Terry, one more question. Is that app-based, or is that landline only, a cell phone?
It's land or cell, whatever number you use. Yeah.
Not an app?
No.
So basically give me a number?
Yes. And of course, when the person registers, we have all their, you know, emergency contact. Please let us know if you're going on vacation, so we're not sending out the police for no reason. So, you know, there's some checks and balances, but yeah.
Councilor Marcillo?
Thank you, Chair. I was also going to ask about this program because I think this is probably one of the most important things that you do as a council. How quickly do the police respond after they get no?
Within minutes.
Okay.
I mean, I can find out exactly, but it's pretty quick response because there is an officer in charge. They're aware that this is during the 8 o'clock hour. Somebody's looking at that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also think that this needs to be like a quarterly social media push out by the city. It's the only way you keep it on in people's memory.
Right.
And it's like you said, it's educating everyone in the city to then like put that in their head, and when they need it, talk their parents into signing up for it, because that's, as we all know, that's how this stuff happens. So we need to just more regularly do that, and I would actually suggest that part of your data include from now on the numbers that are signed in, and it could just be how many people were using it this year, so that you.
Sure.
I think because keeping an eye on it will help to boost those numbers, help focus on increasing those numbers. And then what is the difference between this and the lockbox program?
Well, the lockbox is so that you can get into somebody's apartment or the building. Yeah.
Okay. And so how many people are taking advantage of that?
Gosh, I would say maybe 40-ish.
40-ish.
That's another, and the Friends of the Council on Aging actually sponsor that program. Another one that could be bolstered.
Yeah, I would suggest the same thing on that. These are really important because these are people that aren't necessarily connected to the social programs through the Council on Aging,
Right.
but they're
more vulnerable. They're more at risk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We will, and I definitely need everybody's help in promoting that. I think what I have found throughout my career in elder care is that people don't want to address certain issues until you hit the wall, and that's including the adult children, because nobody's going to get old or sick, right? So it's educating people early on, through the aging process.
If you get the information out there on social media and the city puts it out, I will also get it in my news.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another thought while we're discussing that is there are a lot of home delivered meals that you do in partnership with the Friends of Council on Aging, and that might be a pool of residents,
Right.
to push it out to.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I know a lot of home delivered meals.
We've done that, but I think what we need to do is repeat. Yeah.
Great. Popped up in my newsletter, but I can't remember how many months ago it was. Councilor Harvey?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to throw this one out there, Terry, because when we talked about this, when we were talking about resident parking and all this stuff, we talked a lot about visiting nurses. And I know the parking department is in touch with the companies that send out the visiting nurses, so that might be another way to get to the people that are actually, if they have a visiting nurse,
Yep.
visiting nurse
No, you're right.
to that particular person.
Yeah, more marketing.
And I'm sure the companies that have the visiting nurses would be more than happy to, even if it's just a flyer that they give them the spiel when they're there talking with them about everything else that they're going through.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's one thing I'd like to do too, now that I feel like we're more on an even keel with the social service team, 3 people in place. A goal of mine has been to try to be more external, to talk to the medical entities and others about what we do, and to create the space to do that. So those are good ideas. Thank you.
Councilor Masillo?
Not that we're trying to solve your problem for you here, but there's a lot of good ideas here. I think Councilor Harvey hit the nail on the head. Instead of the flyering, it's the direct conversation.
Yep.
And so the Meals on Wheels people who are delivering the meals, if they could take a few minutes just to explain it, and it's just the way you present it. If peace of mind for themselves doesn't work, maybe peace of mind for their families work. So, using any of those tools, but I think at this point it's the direct discussion with the people, and I think the home health nurses are.
It's a great idea.
A really good idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel, not being a member of the committee. So, I really want to reinforce that. When I was on the Salem for All Ages Advisory Council, isolation was really top of the list of things that we can fix. And I just appreciate all the stuff you do, but I just want to go back to something you brought up, and that's community outreach. Because you and I spoke about this today. Ingrid and Fabiola came to Pioneer Terrace, Bertram Terrace tenant meeting. And it's funny, at one point I said, who here knows Lynn Barrett? This is the new Lynn Barrett. And actually, we were talking about this, you could maybe reinforce this, of the maybe 25 people in the room, only about 5 had taken advantage of services, but almost everyone knew Lynn. And I think that also having people in those roles who speak Spanish is really important. We've had a lot of trouble getting those communities, which have about 25-30% Latino, to participate in the meetings. And so I just felt like they would welcome at least those 2 anytime they're available.
Yeah, I agree. I think the addition of Ingrid in particular, as this is the crux of her job description, right, to be out there, and the fact that she is bilingual and just a beautiful personality to connect and form relationships with people, and, you know, someone you can trust. And we're starting to make some headway that way. So the bilingual piece was certainly important.
She actually, Fabiola hadn't had cards yet, because she's so new. But Ingrid actually wrote Fabiola's number on her card and literally went around the room and gave everyone her card.
Yep.
So I think a lot of times people go, oh yeah, I wish I knew who that person was. And now they actually have something in their hand, just like Councilors Marcillo and Harvey were talking about.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Watson-Feld?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. Again, this is just another good idea. But a question, I think, when you talk through community engagement ideas, have you done any multi-generational events that are aimed to bring in younger generations alongside their grandparents or their parents and their one of the ideas that came to my mind, one of the things that made me think of that specifically, was your incredible meal program and the cafe ideas that you have as well. You know, the Salem High School has a budding and wonderful culinary arts program.
You know about it,
right?
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure, like, you know, I think so much of this accessing folks who maybe are multilingual speakers, accessing folks' parents, or the kids of the people you're trying to get in the door, all of those things may be, there may be an opportunity there just to make some connectivity across generations, where the kids could do an event that they could get credit for and bring in their families, or something to that effect.
Right, and we have done that.
Wonderful.
We work with some of the schools where the kids have come in and brought their lunch and sat with the senior, and they want to interview the senior, and just to have that intergenerational experience. We are a little bit different. We've entertained by the Salt and Stall School Band. We work with some other schools too. I've gone and visited Salt and Stall and talked with kids, and they want to know about what we do. But I know what you mean. You mean like really that connection, and we do it. Would I like to do more of it? Absolutely. And Sarah Roy and I are going to be doing some talking too about how we can do more of that. And another example is I have a young man who just started. He's just did 1 year at BC already, and he's ROTC as well. So he's going to be doing some volunteering for Kim Emmerling and Veterans, as well as Council on Aging. That's like one person, but he also has an affinity for elders. And so people get very excited. The seniors get really excited when any younger generation comes in and interacts with them. So I want to do more with the school-age children for sure, but we do some. I just want to speak real quickly to our relationship with Salem State, which is terrific. We have the nursing program for several years now, comes in on Wednesdays. There's a new cohort every 6 weeks, and it's part of their rotations. Even though we're not a medical model, they're there to talk about the seniors and study the social determinants of health. and it's a great experience. And the Wednesdays is our busiest day, and I know it's the nurses and the food pantry. Not sure which is more important to them, but it's both, really. And they just love that interaction with the students. And we also work with occupational therapy. They come in and do a spring wellness series with the seniors, and we pick topics that, sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're serious, about your health. But the seniors really like seeing students, for sure. And those are just some examples of what we do.
That's wonderful. I think it's great. I think there's been so many events and expanded programming, as you noted before. We're downstairs having a neighborhood meeting, and there's drumming going on upstairs. Yeah. It's just it's fantastic. I love it. And I just think that family nights, connecting. I think seniors, especially those that may not be English speakers primarily, may feel more confident and secure if they come with their own family members. So any kind of opportunity of opening that up, dance nights, drum nights, all of that stuff, to that multi-generational approach may help to do wonders with that connecting across the community. I really appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you.
I think this emergency response program that we were just talking about is an actual lifesaver. And it's shocking to me that there's only 6 people signed up. So we're all going to get on that, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so just to clarify my last question, I promise, Chair, do folks sign up through you? They call in or they email, or it's just through the regular COA number?
Yeah, usually the social workers will handle the enrollment and go through their list of concerns and make sure we have next of kin or emergency contact, that sort of thing. But yeah, they just contact us at the center.
Okay, and they say, I'd like to sign up for this. Confirm OK program.
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
And we will recommend it, of course, to people who come in, or, while most people come into the center, we still have folks that the social workers visit if they're truly homebound, but for things like health insurance forms, things like that, So we keep an eye on people, for sure.
Excellent.
But you're right, we need to bolster it across the community with the help of everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Clearly, everyone is very passionate and excited about the incredible work that you do. And I don't want to keep it going forever, but I do have to say, the medical team on Wednesdays, they've taken my blood pressure and my oxygen and talked to me. I've actually, done the service when I'm there, because I'm there so many Wednesdays. It's really super, and I've watched them engage with the older adults, and it is really awesome. And I loved when the school kids came in. I think it was Valentine's we were all together.
Yes.
I still have my card. It was so fun when the students came in and we all made Valentine's together. So yeah, 1000%. It's all, those are just super programs, and I personally enjoy them. Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you. Can you just explain the 2 decreases in the budget, the full-time salaries and the contracted services?
Sure. Let me look at that. So I think part of it is the Council on Aging is coming out from under the umbrella of Park, Rec, and Community Services. So there have been expenses that have been shifted back to Park and Rec. Hold on. Okay. Salaries. Bear with me. Sorry. So I think receptionists will be under Tricia's budget, where we used to help support that. We will no longer have Kathy McCarthy as the program manager. She'll be 100% Park, Rec, and Community Services. Is that what you're referring to, Councilor? Yeah.
Yes, Mayor Pangallo.
So, as some of you may know, back in 2007, the Council on Aging Department was folded under Parks, Rec, and Community Services as part of a reorganization during a process of trying to save the money that the city was facing a deficit at the time, 2006, 2007. And for some time, advocates from the Council on Aging, including the board members and friends of the Council on Aging, have been really trying to make the case that the COA should be an independent department and not within the Division of Community Services. The council changed the ordinance to reflect that couple of years ago, and what we're trying to accomplish now, starting July 1, is to effectuate that in an organizational capacity. So we endeavor, whenever we can, not to have people report to two bosses. So part of the process over the last few months has been identifying the shifting of positions on the org chart that would reflect whether someone supports the whole building or supports specifically the Council on Aging department. And that's why you also see some of the expenses shift too. So we didn't think it was fair that the Council on Aging alone would be responsible for HVAC maintenance for a building that has 3 different departments in fact. And that's what we've tried to reflect in this budget here. It's an ongoing process. We're going to keep working at it, but that's why there are reductions in this budget. They're not reductions in services or people by any means. It's just shifting to other departments.
Councilor Harvey?
Thank you, Chair. So when Kathy moved over, she did part-time Parks and Rec, part-time Council of Aging. Now that she's full-time Parks and Rec, is the Council on Aging going to get somebody towards doing what Kathy was doing prior? Or is that going to fall on the other employees of the Council of Aging as far as a program director?
Yeah, so I think for the immediate future, this budget, the directive to all departments was no new people. So we're not creating new positions. So the work that individual was doing for supporting the Council on Aging will have to be spread out amongst the staff that's already there. And then if we have the capacity in the future, if our financial situations are looking better, for future budgets, we'll be able to add to it. I know that we're talking about the kitchen project as well, and that's an opportunity for us to grow our food and nutrition program for the Council on Aging. There was interest in adding a position to support that work, and we weren't able to do that in the budget this year for financial reasons, but I think both of those are places where we want to see it grow. A lot of the responsibility of the program manager had been helping to support the senior tax work-off program, which has been, I think, growing in interest as the cost of living has been going up. The ordinance specifies that program is a responsibility of the Director of the Council on Aging, so that will move fully within the Council on Aging, and we'll be having discussions around who will have responsibility for overseeing that. But I want to be really clear, like, if you've been to the CLC, or if you've been over in the annex, or you've been in any of our city buildings, you know that we always work as a team. So no matter where it says on the org chart that somebody reports to somebody or falls in the budget in a certain office or department, if there's a big program happening in the building, or if there's a project that's happening across the annex that requires everybody to pitch in and support each other, that's the value set that we have. That's why I think why we are a great place to work. We support each other no matter who you report to on the org chart.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. For the Council on Aging, we are voting on the budget summary on page 563. Councilor Stott?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval on the Council on Aging budget. Personnel line item of $462,680. Expenditure line item of $77,100. For a department total, which is the addition of those two, of $539,780.
She said correction. No, she said 39.
Second it.
Thank you. Councilor Stott moves to approve the Council on Aging personnel budget in the amount of $462,680, expenditures in the amount of $77,100, for a Council on Aging department total of $539,780. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the records show. I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And next, we are moving on to the capital improvement plan, which is the larger tab 7 in the front. And this is for the kitchen project, but it is under the Parks and Rec on page 229. Okay.
I can speak to this as chief advocate, but I'm not an architect or engineer, so that piece is not in my wheelhouse, but I'm learning. A few years back, pre-pandemic, we began to study how we would enhance the kitchen, because the Lieutenant Governor, former Mayor Driscoll, I think, part of her charge was also to get more people in there. She was sending me articles around, gathering places with food, and, food actually draws, and that would have been another tool to get more people of all ages to the center. So we were working under the guidance of a former employee in the building department, and we're working with one firm, and when that employee left, that kind of went by the wayside. We went out to bid again, and we're working with another firm in a neighboring community. And there are I just have to say, there have been a lot of stops and starts and well-intended people trying to grab whole pieces of this project. And kudos to Joe Candelaria, who's the facilities manager for the CLC, tried to take the lead working with Erica, our dining service coordinator, who has worked in, high-end professional establishments over 40 years, and she was a great advisor. Unfortunately, because of stops and starts, the ARPA funds were not, signed, sealed, and delivered by the end of December of last year, so they had to be repurposed. The city determined they would be repurposed for other things, and but that the administration is behind the completion of the project. And the big thing with this project is to have a vent in this building. There's a limited amount of self-cook you can do if you don't have proper ventilation. So much of the study has been around that. What can we do? Because food does draw. Kind of a dream that we've had is, yes, we have the congregate meals that come in. They're essentially free through an entitlement program, voluntary donation. We try to do a little bit of self-cook, some cold meals that are alternatives. But we were looking to have a small enterprise, if you will, over time, where we could do special lunches, not just have the seniors, but hey, employees, other people stop by for soup and a sandwich for $6 and get more people into the community life center of all ages. And that still would be a lovely thing to do. So now Michael Crounce inherited the project in the fall. And we are just waiting for, obviously, the approval so we can go out to bid. But there have been some studies done, so he has some things in hand to go forward for. But I wrote the application for capital funds so we can finish this up.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from the council? Okay. Well, thank you again for all the work you and your team are doing. It's clearly you saw the passion for it in this room tonight.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks very much. If I can get up.
And next we will move on to, we might as well finish up Winter Island. Oh. Okay, so we are going to start with Winter Island, which is back in section 22. And it is page 546. And joining us tonight to talk about Winter Island is David Gilbert, the manager of Winter Island. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, thank you.
Again, this is section 22, page 546. Thanks. Would you like to start off by telling us a little bit about your work?
Well, we've been open now for 3 weeks. We opened on May 19th. To a little rain, perhaps. I don't know if Paul spoke about that, but it has been a rather wet spring so far. But I still consider us in pre-season. We're getting ready. As one of my new staff members, that is, mentioned, we're not running on all 4 cylinders yet, or 8 cylinders. We're working out the bugs. We're in pre-season. That's the time to get everything lined up for when the real season starts, when the kids get out of school and, the campers start showing up. We have been somewhat affected, if you watch Channel 5 WCVB this morning, Canadian campers. We haven't seen as many as we usually do. I've noticed that there have been some cancellations from these folks that had reservations, and suddenly they're not coming as we would have expected. So I wouldn't say, I know New Hampshire is heavily affected by it. We are slightly, but not what you think. I just wanted to make mention of it. That's all. Yeah. But no, we're looking forward to a great season. I have a lot of my returning staff back. Fortunately, miss losing a couple out, but that's just the nature of the beast, with the business. Yeah, we'll train and get up to speed in no time. Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any questions or comments from the council? Okay, for the Winter Island budget, we are on the budget summary, page 549. Councillor Stott?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval for the Winter Island budget personnel line item of $239,994, expenditure line item of $93,590 for a department total of $333,584.
Second it.
Councillor Stott moves to approve the Winter Island personnel budget in the amount of $239,994, expenditures in the amount of $93,590 for a Winter Island department total of $333,584. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show. I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. And I was going to do that at the end of all the votes, but if there are items for Winter Island and you want to turn to them now, that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's not real
Yeah.
capital, it's coming from the revolving, but Dave is putting in place plans to replace the bathhouse roof.
Yeah, so no, happy to move to that. Okay, so we are going to the larger tab 7. So that would
There's
be,
one more for Winter Island truck.
Yeah.
The fourth item.
Yeah.
so the Parks and Rec, Winter Island. Yes, here we are. Yep. So you have the Winter Island roof and the Winter Island truck for discussion. And thank you, Councilor Watson-Felt. It makes sense to do it at this. So would you like to tell us a little bit about those capital improvement plans?
Yes, I'm currently in discussions with 3 different roofing companies on the bathhouse roof. If you notice, it has a lot of lichen on it. I'm sure there's a leak or 2 in there somewhere. Working with 3 companies. One declined, but I have to get that in writing. And then we can move on from there. I'm working with the purchasing in order to go about it the way it goes, it has to be done. It's a little bit new for me, so I'm learning as I go. I don't usually take on this many big, like a big project like that. So I'm learning how it has to be followed through. As far as the truck goes, do you want me to speak on that?
Yes, please, thanks.
So the truck that I have, it's a 2011 Ford F-350 pickup. It has a lot of miles, meaning that it's about 105,000, but it's a plow truck too. It passes inspection, with white duct tape. It's a white truck. I put white duct tape on it and hold it together. And seriously, I mean, safety-wise, I have it checked out by the mechanics, and I'm told it's in safe condition to drive, but it's probably time. I don't know if it could make another year, especially if I had a plow this winter coming up. It may not be the ideal truck to use for something like that. So I don't know what the life expectancy is, but I think
15 years is a good run.
I think, yeah. I mean,
Run.
Usually when they say this might not pass inspection next year, we're ready to move. It also does have some rust, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that is my wish. I think, yeah.
Any further questions or comments from the council? Okay. All right, well, thank you. We're wishing you a good season.
Okay, thank you.
So same thing from me, props for Dave. I'm really lucky to have him. Again, someone I inherited. someone I inherited that I'm fortunate to still have with us. So we appreciate everything that Dave does for Winter Island.
So next, we are moving on to the Parks and Rec General Administration, and that is back to section 22, and it is page 519.
Yep, okay, so thanks. Last but not least.
And this is Tricia O'Brien from our Parks and Rec and Community Service Director.
Thanks. So just wanted to shout out to all of my staff, including the ones that work at the CLC as well. Everyone, I think, did a really good job when Anna and the mayor asked us to be level funded as best we can. We really don't ask for anything unless we really need it. So you'll see that the increase requests are very minimal. The changes that Terry had already addressed with the split of COA being its own department are really just cleaning up the budget in terms of the facility needs, the landscaping contracts, snow plowing, the HVAC system, things like that, are why it looks like our budget increased a lot more. But really, other than that, I didn't ask for anything more, other than general increases, which kind of come along with electricity or heat and oil, which we did have a little cushion in, so we were even able to stay level funded with a lot of those as well. So I don't know if you want me to go over all of our goals and all of our activities, but I think most people are familiar, and you can read the things we do. But I'm really impressed with what Kathy McCarthy does as the program manager for programming for adults, children. This summer, we're continuing to do our free summer playground program, and then we've added also extra Friday field trips during the summer as well. Where I'll plug in as part of our mission being that affordability is one of the goals. We continue to never allow money to be any kind of an obstacle for anyone to participate in any of our programs, events, the pool. So I'm proud of my staff, and I'm proud of us for offering that to anyone in Salem. And I would like to also compliment my friends group, Friends of Park and Rec, who have been fundraising with me for 5 years. This will be our 5th year. And we've raised, I think it's almost, or by this fall, it will be over $75,000 for us in our donation account to be able to fund and support anyone who can't afford anything. And that also includes giving pool passes and things like that for people who can't afford to get into the pool.
Thank you. I do appreciate not wanting finances to be a barrier, for people enjoying it. And I actually haven't seen yet the release of the pool schedule and signing up for that, but I remember last year you did have a contact in there for people that they could reach out, so it's the same this year.
Yep, we have it on our Forest River website. Yep.
Right, you had a contact on there to reach out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, and just before we move on to questions, yes, it's just anything of particular interest you'd like to highlight before we move on to questions, or just move on to comments? Okay. Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel, not being a member of the committee. So regarding electricity, it's really cool that Forest River Pool is 100% sustainable. Heat pumps and solar. When the pool was being built, I just happened upon a study that said that outdoor pools tend to serve underserved communities significantly more than other kinds of pools. And I feel like part of my job as the ward council is to inspect the pool quite often. So I'm down there, and it's really amazing how diverse it is at the pool. I do want to say that Chelsea does a great job because there's a lot of different kinds of events. So I just want to acknowledge that, really terrific. I know you worked a lot with Katie from DPS on the trees.
Yes.
You have a whole bunch of trees.
Yep, a lot of new tree plantings.
And it looks great.
Thank you.
I do want to just bring up, for people who don't know, Saturday is kind of the grand opening of Palmer Cove Park. And I think it's gone from a neighborhood park to like a really spectacular park with the 2 basketball courts, the expanded community gardens. And although people were freaked out about the sculptures, they look amazing. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be visiting the park who didn't know that the park existed. So I know it's been a long, there's been a lot of unintended delays, but I think it's going to end up being really one of the really cool parks in Salem. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It is beautiful. North Shore CDC is having a big event to celebrate that opening on Saturday. So come on down and check it out.
Fiesta in La Cala.
Fiesta in La Cala.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I have a couple of questions. Trish, can you speak to the number of pool passes sold, and then if there's a percentage of those that were, some fell into some category of hardship underwriting?
I don't have that in front of me, but I definitely can get last year's, and then we're just starting up this year's. But last year's is complete, so I can give you that information, or all of you that information of how much money in pool passes we kind of gave out for free, and how many we sold.
How many? That would be wonderful. I think it's just great to have a better sense of the balance sheet on what's coming in, and how much we're supporting the community going back out again. I think it's a great data point to include in future budgets. A couple of questions under contracted services, and Councillor Cohen may have actually referred to this already, but what is your Save a Tree program that it looks like it's been steady, a steady expense of $2,800 year over year?
Yeah, so when Chris Burke was a member of our Park and Rec Commission, he's also a tree guy, and there were some, particularly at Palmer Cove Park, which is under my jurisdiction, we had some very mature trees that were being affected by the emerald ash borer bug.
Okay, yep.
We had them evaluated, and we were able to identify some that we thought might be able to be saved with some effort. After they get to a certain point, you really can't save them. It does have an impact on the budget. Could have an extreme impact if you went citywide, but really felt like in that neighborhood, it was really important to keep that shade because it's very condensed. Not a lot of air conditioning in a lot of the families that we know that live there. So providing that shade we thought was really critical. So we were able to put some of that money into treating those trees, and we have had success to the point of not having to treat them every year. I think it is might be 3 trees at Palmer Cove, maybe 4.
I know that there were some that are identified citywide as well, that some local organizations have fundraised for.
Yeah, I think Chris mentioned one on, I think it's like there might be one on near the Common.
Yes, definitely.
Not Winter Street, Hawthorne,
Hawthorne Boulevard, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd just be curious to see if you have plans to do a more wide assessment and to begin to treat those trees that are affected, even if it's just patches across the city, or at least have a sense of how many are currently being affected. And so local organizations or local neighborhoods could fundraise if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely do the evaluations of the trees in the parks. That's all that I have control over, but I think the tree commission would have the city street trees under their jurisdiction, so I guess I can't speak for that one, but...
You guys communicate or collaborate at all on a sort of a master tree tree database that the DPS, our tree
With DPS?
can, well, or, I think we've got the tree warden, we've got the commission, and we've got you guys.
Yeah.
Sounds like, I would love to have a better comprehensive sense of the program that is citywide. I know it's that only the park trees fall under your jurisdiction, but I would just love to better have an understanding if there's like cross communication, collaboration, shared funding. This might be for the mayor. I can see him with his microphone.
Mayor Pengallo?
So the citywide tree inventory is comprehensive of both street trees and park trees, as well as trees in public spaces that are not parks. The jurisdiction in terms of like who has authority over it depends on whether if it's a street tree, it's within the authority of the tree commission. If it's on parkland, Article 97 parkland, it's the authority of the Park and Rec Commission. But there is dialogue and coordination. We did have a new hire with the new tree warden who's helping to facilitate that. But I think, we do coordinate, and there is one data set that does inventory all those trees.
Great. So you have a sense, through the tree warden has a sense of what citywide a Save a Tree program could potentially need to be for the ashes in the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's met with Chris, and with Ray and Katie as well, so that there is a dialogue around that. A large percentage of our publicly owned trees are in green lawn, which is under the authority of the superintendent of cemeteries, who is under our ordinances also the tree warden.
Excellent, thank you. And then I see that there's a decrease in beach staffing this year, Trish. Can you speak to the reason for that? Does that equal a decrease in lifeguard hours at our public beaches, or how is that showing up?
Yeah. So sorry. Where is it? Right here.
Also under contracted services.
Yeah, I think that just accurately reflects the Y contract. And then I think the calendar jumped a little bit in the YMCA contract and when we opened the pool, we did extra weekends a little bit earlier, which we talked about, but the weather wasn't predicted to be great. And we're opening a week earlier because school gets out earlier than it did in the past. So I think that's the extra.
This is a decrease in beach staffing under contracting services from 42,000 in fiscal 25 to 31,000 in fiscal 26.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't believe it actually represents, although Trish, I defer to you, an actual decrease in services. It represents the YMCA rebid on their contract this year for a 3-year contract, and the combination of the $31,000 for beach staffing, the $4,200 for the out of contract seasons, and the $218,080 for pool program services were the totals within their bid, and so that's just accurate reflecting what was in their response to the RFP. But I don't believe that it's a change in dates. But
no, the beach lifeguards are the same as in the past.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Councilor Masillo?
Thank you, Chair. So kind of jumping off of what Councilor Watson-Felt was talking about, I would like to see more data and your performance measures focused on the pool. We've made a huge investment in the pool, and I think that the performance measures and the data that you provide are a really good snapshot of how the city is using these different services. And I think the pool could stand some data here. Not only the pool passes, which is a great idea, including the number that are given out either at a reduced cost or for free. I would also include with that the number of swim lessons given to kids learning how to swim. I think that's a really important number that the city should be tracking. And I know that the Y does the lessons, right? But still, these are Salem kids that are getting these lessons. And I think that that's important since we've invested in this pool. And then the third one is the events. And we have that event space there. And, it's meant to be used, and I think tracking how it's used from year to year and focusing on trying to make sure that it's rented out when it can be would be really important to track.
Yeah, definitely I can provide that more. And I can go back and give it to you guys also via email, but we can change that for the actual budget and writing as well. As Jeff said, I will compliment Chelsea, who is a more recent hire for the event manager position down there. And I will guarantee you it's gone up since we've hired her. And the events that we have there are oftentimes celebration of life, a lot of birthday parties, a lot of trainings. We've also been trying to reach out to businesses to host like a staff luncheon there, things like that. So Chelsea's doing a much better job, I think, of marketing that and getting that and really being able to focus time on that. So we definitely anticipate those numbers to go up. I personally wish the building was bigger, but we did listen to the community who didn't want it to be bigger because it's a little bit of a tough number to have any, larger events.
I would have to agree with that. It's really hard to find space in the city for a large event that isn't like in a restaurant.
Because the capacity is only technically like 49. You open the doors in the summer and you have a little patio, but the building capacity for that room is only 49 people.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, we are voting on the budget summary for Parks and Rec on page 523. Councilor Stott?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval for the Park and Rec budget, general admin personnel line item of $671,384, expenditure line item of $589,410 for a department total of $1,260,794.
Second it.
Councilor Stott moves to approve the Parks and Rec General Administration personnel budget in the amount of $671,384, expenditures in the amount of $589,410 for a department total of $1,260,794. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show. I see 4 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And before we move on to the capital improvement plan, which will be, again, back in the larger tab 7, page 229 and 230, I just want to check in with Anna that we've taken, since we went in different orders tonight, we did take all the votes that we need to take. Okay, great. Thank you. So again, we're moving back to the larger tab 7. And the Parks and Rec Department capital improvements start at the bottom of page 229. Are there any you'd like to highlight?
I guess I'll just go back to mostly, I only ask if I really need. So with the changes, I think we've done a great job of working with Anna to only ask for what our needs are. Sometimes we do need a cushion in Parks and Rec for things that go wrong, things that can happen. And if it is flexible in capital when projects run under or I almost said it. I almost said a saying I shouldn't say on television. Things go wrong. Sometimes we need that cushion a little bit to have some money available, and that's typically what this park upgrades amount is, because we do have a pretty limited budget in terms of maintenance, renovations, repairs, things like that. But oftentimes it ends up because of a project going over budget that we have that cushion. I think most of them are self-explanatory. If you have questions on any of them. The playground replacements and renovations, the first one, since I've been here, I think in my 9th year, we are continually upgrading all of the parks and playgrounds, making them ADA compliant. We've done a ton of playgrounds over, and we go by the age of them when they're obviously failing, and also tracking the C-click fixes for pieces that are broken. A lot of times those companies don't make the pieces anymore, and the companies don't have anything that's comparable that can be put in. But they also have outlived their normal lifespan, so I think there is a good balance there. But when we are able to do that, we are also able to make them accessible, which is great, and a lot more expensive. But
yes, agreed. A lot of times, they come up with better, more enhanced, more accessible, ideas instead of just repairing what's there.
Yeah, or the parts aren't available to repair, and then we have to take that piece down and. Yeah.
I guess our Councilor Russillo first, then I'll.
Thank you, Chair. So is the playground replacement and renovations, is that targeted for a specific playground this year?
Yeah, so right now we are going to be finished with Gallows, Lower Gallows Playground by probably the end of July. And then this one will go towards Collins Cove. That's the next one in place. And then the mayor and I have talked about High Street Playground also being the next. So I did apply for some CPA funding. So depending on what happens with CPA, there may be money there. Depending on what it costs, we could fit in High Street possibly next year, but it kind of depends how much money I get from CPA.
Okay, so if I look at this line item, the next chunk of money is in FY '28, and it's for 400,000. Is that targeted for something?
What? Oh, what's that? Are you?
Yeah, it's where it goes from 265,500 for fiscal year '26, then there's nothing for '27 and 400,000 for '28.
Ann is in my ear telling me we had a purpose for that. I'm trying to remember. That was a while ago.
Is that High Street?
Oh, maybe that is High Street, because we said Collins Cove was first. Yeah.
If we do High Street, the plan is that next year we would plan it and design it, and then FY '28 would be the installation?
Yeah, I mean, that could move up, right? Because that's just a projection, right? So it could move up to 27, yeah.
All right, and then what are the ADA compliance items that you have this year in mind?
So when we're doing, the 10,000 one, you mean? So that's continuing to try to just chip away at, I think it's a 72-page report that I have that that group from, was it UMass? No.
The Institute for Human Centered.
Yeah, Institute for Human Centered Design, and I thought there was a school too that did it. So I have that I just continue to chip away at with that money that I'm allocated. So that's in addition to the budget.
For this $10,000?
I don't have a specific plan other than to just try to continue to move through that book.
Okay, and then the same with the park upgrades, the 125,000 this year?
So that's kind of the one that all the things that come along that I don't have enough money in my maintenance or renovation, or if a project comes under budget, that we have that cushion to be able to do. So for example, if there's a fence that came down or something that happened that I don't have in my regular budget, that I'm able to have that. That's kind of the one piece that I have flexibility with that's not very specifically labeled and can be across the parks for anything that we might need.
So are you using it as kind of like a maintenance fund for project?
Yeah, emergencies, things that go above and beyond the budget, and also if there are any of our park projects that do go over budget, which happens a lot, change orders, things like that might happen with planning that there is no funding for.
Okay, so this year is Collins Cove for a playground redo?
Yep, complete redo.
And then you're looking at High Street for the next one?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, Chair Merkel. First, as Ward 2 Councilor, thank you so much for focusing on the Collins Cove Park. It's got some rusty broken chain bits and stuff going on over there, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's the one we've had a lot of the C-click fixes for.
Yeah.
That's why it moved to the priority.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, one of the bridge has been broken since Gavin was 4. So.
And they don't make it anymore. We can't, we've tried to kind of piece it together. We can't.
I understand, but I'm really grateful for it. But my question, specific to the playground replacement and renovations, is I often wonder, despite it not being my ward at all, what's going on with the park equipment at the Old Horseman School on the Salem State property. I know when it was installed, it was new, relatively new prior to the move of the buildings and the over to Bowditch space. So has it just been disappeared and gone away, or was any of that ever repurposed? Was any of that ever usable? It wasn't that old, so I was just curious how that works.
You're talking about play equipment that is on Salem State's campus for the Old Horseman School.
Yeah, to the left there, if you're looking at it.
I can picture in my mind. I'm not sure what the status of that is, or if that was purchased as school property, or if it was through Salem State as part of Salem facilities. But I can look into it.
I would just be curious, and I don't know if park equipment is the kind of thing you can move or repurpose, or if it's just sort of lost, once you've installed it and then we move schools. So I was curious about that.
I will say, if it's Salem State property, we can work with them, and I can have my facilities guy Joe Candelaria, who can check that out. He has a whole list of when we're taking gallows down, he goes over, he saves all the screws, he saves everything he can. If there's a particular piece of equipment that could be used at another park, we save it, but what we're finding a lot of times is there's so many different ones, and they're not compatible, but I do have him evaluate that before any get taken down.
Okay, cool. That's
so I could do that with Salem State.
And then I have a question just about what the Salem Common Safety Enhancements Study for $50,000 this year is really going to be focusing on.
I can speak to that. So this is we had discussions around trying to identify a plan for hardening the perimeter of Salem Common. And I don't want to give the impression that this is part of a fence project. This is more about public safety. It's in a space that's within, a public area. So this is really the first iteration of what we think we're going to need to have some specialists help us and help the community think about how we can make that space a safe space for everybody.
So you're talking about safe from intrusion of large vehicles.
Correct.
So potentially larger granite perimeters, larger bollards, higher crowd safety measures.
Well, I mean, I think I don't want to presuppose what the recommendations might be. It's a historical space, and we want to treat it with an aesthetic that's reflective of that, but we also want to make sure that it's something that's going to keep people safe. And under no illusions that $50,000 is going to do it. This is kind of to start the conversation with some specialists.
Okay. And have those specialists already been identified yet? No. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I remember Chief Miller talking about wanting to take a serious look at the public safety risk of the common, wanting to be the next discussion. I think it was Councilor Prosnewski was next.
I also was going to ask that question, whether it was safety for the kids or whether it was public safety. And because I know that was talked about. And segueing to that is, I know that we have our quadricentenary coming up next year, and I'm just wondering what Park and Rec in the city has for plans for the common, saying that it's our centerpiece and probably the go-to spot during that, during Heritage Days and everything else. I know that there are some changes, some plans in the mix, and just wondering if we could hear some of the things that are going on for that.
Sure, for the common specifically, so all of the festivals and signature events that happen throughout the year for 2026 are being shaped around the quadricentennial celebration. So the things that happen on the common typically, First Muster, Pride Festival, all of those, they're working with Ginny Cheryl from my office to make sure that their program for 2026 is reflective of the quadricentennial. In terms of the built environment there, we did complete the tree installations and some of those improvements, really focusing in on the bandstand. We had done an initial maintenance pass on it, and we're preparing for the next phase, which is a bit more substantive, to really enhance that structure, preserve it. We do have some accessibility concerns that we have to address because of the code. And then working with Kim Emmerling, hopefully in time for 2026, but possibly not, to refurbish and potentially relocate the Veterans Memorial to a more prominent and visible location on the mall, or on the common. So those are the things that we're targeting as far as the built environment. The bandstand is really the big one. I mean, it was 1926 that it was installed for the tercentenary, so it's the 100th anniversary of that structure, directly connected to another centennial celebration. So we really saw that as the key focus for the common.
And speaking of the public safety, I know there was talk about some additional lighting, some around the common, so that the common itself would be lit up enough so that if you were standing in one side of the common, you could see across to the other side. Because right now there are blind spots, and from a public safety standard, if you can't see from one side to the other, then you have to drive over or go over to that. And
Yeah, so there is funding, and that work is in progress right now between our office, John Giardi, electrician, and Patty Kelleher for historic planning. So they've been identified, they've gone through the Historic Commission, and I think the work will be happening soon, well before 2026 that will be done.
Great, that's good news. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw Councillor Stott.
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I was going to ask quickly two questions. First one being the staircase and expenses at Mac Park property. Are those the exterior staircases on the side?
Yeah, that go down to, I'm really bad with street names, Flint, Mason Street, yeah.
Okay. And then the Mac Park property itself, is that referring to the caretaker's house? And is there any update on a caretaker at the caretaker?
Yep, there's no funding for that, right? You're just asking about the house?
Well, it says staircases and expenses at Mac Park property. I didn't know if that meant.
The 75 is just for the staircase.
Yeah, that's just for the staircase, yeah.
Do you have an update on the house?
I do. So right now we've accepted the RFPs, I guess, for the people that are interested, and right now it's in the hands of Anthony Delaney to run the interviews. A couple of us had to step aside because we had a connection with the person who applied, so we're not involved in that interview process, but I believe there were 2 candidates that applied, and I'm just waiting to hear when they're doing those interviews.
Thank you. I like to acknowledge the improvements that have been made to Mac Park over the years of myself as the counselor, and most recently the trees that were added along Mason Street, the sidewalk improvements that were added from Mason to as a pedestrian walk along the edge of the park, and along with the food farm side. I will say that park, I think, could use a lot more attention, and I'm really hoping that once we do get through our 400th celebration and our signature parks get all of the attention, that these other kind of, I think, key signature parks for neighborhoods get really looked at holistically of how they can improve. And I think for Mac Park specifically, accessibility into the park as a pedestrian, as a neighbor walking to the park, can really be improved. I mean, it's great to drive there and go sledding in the winter, or to drive there to go to the food farm, but it's daunting crossing the street there at the top of the hill sometimes. And I know we've tried our best to make improvements with crosswalks and lighting and some sidewalks, but I definitely think it can continue to be improved. So thank you for your efforts there. And then I'd like to just ask for someone that's not a part of Margaret's working group for Pioneer Village, if you could give a high level, where we are with that project, timelines or anything like that.
Sure, yep. So right now, the group we are ready to move in, or will be able to move into construction design fairly soon, but we do have to go out to bid for that. We completed all of the preliminary design, pretty much. I forget all the lingo, but with Margaret Wood as the project manager, and Mike Crounce is still continuing to help lead that project from the mayor's office. So as I understand it, once this money is secured, we will be able to go out soon for the construction documents have to be done with the designers, and then they can go out to bid. I'm still trying to hope for 2026, but everything takes a long time, as I've learned in 9 years, but we're trying to continue to push. We had a lot of delays trying to accommodate a lot of different people and historic commission, et cetera. So we've been going to a lot of these commissions, getting feedback. Yeah, so I think we're ready for that next stage. I'm excited to get it moved.
Thank you. Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I didn't know you could make playground equipment all out of wood, so it's really cool at Palmer Cove Park.
The compan, yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I'm like, wow, that's actual playground equipment.
Magoo is like that too.
Was it?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, it's
was,
cool.
except for those bees that year.
And this is in Ward 1, so, but I have a question. Peabody Park, is that accessible for kids and families to play in now?
So Peabody Street Park.
I thought they had to wait until some of the grass held, but
You're talking about Peabody Street Park? Yeah. So that's the one that North Shore CDC is supposed to be sort of taking over.
Yeah, I don't know the current status of it. You'll find out that the long-term plan is that it's going to be approved as part of the El Centro project, so it will still be public space and accessible. I just don't know the current status.
I think it's important because I think when that park was first built, it was because of the lack of open space in the point, and that was pretty popular, not just for kids, but Salsa Sundays and all sorts of other stuff. So
Yeah, I've seen the, it's been a while, but I did see the design with the North Shore CDC and was in contact with them about that. And I know that Beth was working on kind of agreements because they were going to help maintain that as well.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Okay, and thank you for your department, all the work you do.
Thank you.
Please do.
Thank you very much. I'm lucky.
Really, really wonderful. It's very much appreciated, and it's a heavy lift and a lot of work. Thank you. I'll entertain another motion.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Did they approve the numbers?
Thank you. We are adjourned.